So I was at a local auction recently and I bought this lot of 17 digital cameras and DSLR cameras for $400, and I think I might have overpaid. There's some good stuff in here, but it's all untested. So what I'm going to do with this lot is go through these cameras one by one. If they have any minor issues, I'm going to attempt to fix them, and we'll assign a value based on today's marketplace pricing on websites like eBay, and see if we can hit a target of $800 for this lot of cameras. I'm going to go ahead and set it on the ground and we'll get started. And if you're new here, hi, my name's Kevin from Prickly Pear Camera, and my full-time job is buying and selling used digital cameras. I've been doing this for a long time now, and I've sold over 20,000 digital cameras in the last 10 years. So I'm familiar with most of the models, and I have a spreadsheet that goes back that period of time and lets me kind of ascertain values of cameras and get an idea of what's selling the best so I know what to buy. Okay, first camera, we've got a Canon Rebel XSI DSLR camera, and I believe it has a 10 megapixel sensor, and this body will take both Canon EF and EFS mount lenses, so we've got the red circle and the white square here. So there's a lot of compatible lenses for this camera. It uses the Canon LPE5 battery, which I have here. I'm assuming there's no battery in here. Oh, there's not even a battery door. So not even a battery door on this camera, which is right here. And in order for this camera, this specific camera, to actually power on, it does have to have either a battery grip or a battery door. So let me go through my selection of battery doors and see if we can find the appropriate one. I've been saving these up for years and years. It's not too often that I end up needing them, but I do have dozens of various battery doors here for Nikon and Canon and Sony DSLR cameras, because you never know. And what we're looking for is a small, I think that is the right one. Let's go ahead and give that a shot. Yeah. So it fits in place there. Fortunate. I think that was the last one I had that would fit the Canon Rebel XSI. This also fits the Canon Rebel T1i. So now that we have the battery door in place, and let's go ahead and put the lens back on. And we will put the battery in. Put the battery in there. And let's give it an old power on and see if she turns on. Nice. Does turn on. It is missing the rubber viewfinder cap, which I have a bunch of replacements for those as well. Just cosmetic, but adds a little bit to the value. Certainly makes it look nicer. So let's go ahead and try to take a picture here. Oh, and this uses regular SD cards. So the early version, like the Canon Rebel XT, used compact flash cards, but this bumped up to regular old SD cards. And I've got an SD card in here. I'd like to test whenever I'm testing cameras with the appropriate memory card if I can, just to make sure that it's reading and writing appropriately. So the shutter button doesn't appear to be working. But otherwise the camera appears to be functional. I did get a viewer tip recently about using an alcohol solution to try to potentially clean it and get it into working condition, so I'm going to give that a shot. But unfortunately, this camera, as is right now, is not operable and won't take pictures. If this camera was in working condition, the value would be right around $90. But the good thing is, this lens does have a little bit of value. It's a Canon EFS 18-55 kit lens that came with the Canon Rebel XSI and T1i camera. And the value on this is going to be about $30, assuming the autofocus works. And the value on the Rebel XSI, as is going to be about $20 in parts condition. So worst case, I'm looking at $50 value for this. So certainly not the $90 that I was looking for a good working condition camera. But there is still value in certain cameras, even if they're not in working condition. So number one camera, Canon Rebel XSI, as is right now, we're looking at a value of about $50. And I will go ahead and try to do the alcohol trick, and there's a few other things I'm going to try later to get that into working condition. And the reason that I think I might have overpaid for this lot is my original max budget for this lot was in the $250 to $300 range, and I got in a bit of a bidding war with another buyer and ended up paying more than I was wanting to pay. It doesn't happen too often to me, but there was one camera in this lot that was very desirable and has quite a bit of value, and I let that really influence my decision, probably in a negative way. But stay tuned and let's see if we can get to that $800 target regardless. Even at $800 with shipping fees and costs, that would eat up around $150. So the overall net would be around $650 on a $400 purchase, leaving me with a potential profit of around $250 if we get to the $800. So it's not a huge amount of profit. Normally I'm looking to triple my money if I can before all of the expenses. All right, next camera. We have, oh, this is unusual, Nikon Coolpix 8800. This is an 8 megapixel vibration reduction Nikon kind of intermediate bridge camera. And this camera was actually released by Nikon in 2005, so just about 20 years ago. It's a beefy camera. It's got a magnesium alloy frame, and this camera actually was able to shoot 30 frames per second, I believe. And it was Nikon's flagship point-and-shoot camera when it came out for about $1,000. This is what $1,000 got you back in 2005. I did notice immediately that it does have a bent internal lens rim here, and there appears to be some dust and possible haze inside of the lens. So we'll go through taking a few sample pictures and see if that affects the picture quality, which would affect the value. But regardless, having a little bit of haze in the lens will definitely affect the value. This thing is built like a tank. So let's see if it has a battery inside. No, it doesn't. There's also some wear on the bottom here that you can see, and that will affect the value as well. And this uses Nikon's ENL7 battery, kind of an unusual battery. You don't see that often. Looks like this. Go ahead and put it in, and we'll see if the camera turns on. Takes a while. Yeah, it does. Set the time and date. No. Lens moves out. And let's go ahead and just test the zoom real quick and see if the zoom is working. And it is. Kind of noisy. You can definitely see that. Look at the lens rim there. Okay. And this uses compact flash for memory. I'm gonna go ahead and try taking a picture and see if that works at least. Ooh, flash pops. Yeah, it does take a picture. Yep. Let's see. Get the flash to fire. Flash on. Flash is not firing. You know what's really unusual about this camera too for a point-and-shoot camera that was released at this date? It actually has a hot shoe adapter. So you could put in like a Nikon SP-600 flash on this camera if you wanted an external flash or if the onboard flash isn't working. And I have this camera in fill flash mode, which means that the flash should fire. There we go. I think it just took a while to get charged. So it does appear to be working. I'm going to go ahead and take this camera outside and take some sample pictures, and we'll see if we can see any artifacts as a result of that haze. I don't see any issues caused with the picture performance with the haze in this camera from a variety of shots that I took. So value of this camera with its condition related issues like this bent lens rim, that will affect the value. I would probably sell this for $30 to $40 in good working condition with accessories and charger. Value on this you see for $75 to $100. So I'll go ahead and put a value of 30 bucks on this camera for now. So we're not achieving full value on these because, again, I bought this lot completely untested. And buying untested lots, you're at the whim of whoever originally had them and how they were compiled. And you kind of have to hope that another person that was interested in cameras didn't come along and already test them and get rid of the rejects. So there is some inherent risk in this model. And it's not something I do a ton of, but it is pretty fun, and that's why I continue to do it. So we'll do 30 bucks on this. Nikon Coolpix 8800. Next camera. We have a Sony DSC W370, which is a Sony Cyber-shot, I think 12 or 14 megapixel camera that was released by Sony probably 12, 13 years ago now. And for its time, it had a pretty good sized LCD actually, as you can see here. And this camera uses Sony's NP-BK1 battery, which is actually basically the same as the Olympus Li50 battery. And it has a battery and a SD card in here. This camera also takes Memory Stick Pro Duo cards. It's got a 4 gig SD card in there. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on and see if it powers on. Oh, it does. A little bit of dust in the lens, but it looks good otherwise. So this actually looks pretty promising. Let's see. So you can get a peek at the LCD there. It looks good. I'm going to go ahead and test the zoom real quick. Zoom is smooth, quiet. And let's go ahead and take a picture. Change the flash. Yep. Flash fires. So this camera is actually in pretty good shape. And the value of these cameras, the Sony Cyber-shots of this era, have really gone up in the last 4 or 5 years. This was a camera that 5 or 6 years ago I would sell all day long for $40, $45. But the value of this camera has gone up into the $75 to $100 range for this camera. So if I pair this with a charger and a memory card that's included, you're looking at a value of in the $80 range for this Sony DSC W370. All right. I know we've got a few Panasonics in here, so I'm going to go ahead and pull out this guy here. This is the Panasonic DMC FZ28 camera. It's a bridge camera that was released by Panasonic, 15 years ago now. And I have a lot of history with this camera. Back in the day, I used to be a camera salesperson, and I sold dozens of this camera. And the company I used to work for was actually, at the time, the largest Panasonic Lumix dealer in the country. And that was before you had Amazon playing in the game and selling directly. So we were doing millions of dollars in Panasonic Lumix at that point. When they stopped production and moved from model to model, we would often buy out the bulk of the inventory that Panasonic had left, and we would kind of own the market and be able to sell it for a few months until we ran out of stock. So this camera does power on, and it's got a pretty decent 18x optical zoom. Pretty smooth. This camera looks pretty good so far. Let's go ahead and take a picture. Flash fires, and this camera's in pretty good shape actually. Okay, the value of this Panasonic Lumix DMC FZ28 in good working condition like it is going to be about 50 bucks. So not a huge amount of value unfortunately, but everything kind of adds up. Alright, next camera is going to be another Panasonic, and this is the Panasonic DMC FZ8. And this came out between the Panasonic DMC FZ5 and the DMC FZ18. It is also a bridge camera with a 12x optical zoom, so a little bit smaller. But it does use the same battery, so we can go ahead and give this a test as well. And just flip the mode. Cosmetically, it looks to be in decent shape. Okay, let's go ahead and turn it on and see if we can get this camera to work. Power's on. And let's see if the zoom works. That looks good. Okay, and the flash button is right here, so I'm going to go ahead and pop the flash. Dink. And we'll try to take a picture. Nice. Wow, this looks good. So 2 for 2 with Panasonic. Value on the DMC FZ8 is actually going to be even less than the DMC FZ28. The value of this camera in used good working condition on a website like eBay in the US is going to be about $35. Alright, next camera. Ah, yes. This is an Olympus E420, and this is a 4/3 DSLR camera. Not micro 4/3, but 4/3. And as far as I'm aware, Olympus was the only one that really dabbled in 4/3 technology. Panasonic did a little bit, and I think Leica had a model or two. But there wasn't much in terms of actual 4/3 cameras. You know, Olympus 4/3 DSLR cameras have pretty interesting color. If you go in and take pictures, you'll notice that often there's a little bit of a bluish tint in the pictures that you take. Certainly you can adjust that both in camera, and there's some settings you can adjust like vivid and natural. But just out of the box, the pictures tend to be a little bit on the blue-gray side from my personal experience, which is a little bit unusual for cameras. So physically, this looks actually quite nice. It is missing the part of the plastic here, so it looks like at some point there was a battery adapter that you were able to power this camera for long periods of time to plug in, and that piece may have broken off or become missing. It's kind of an interesting camera because you're able to record to both compact flash and XD. There's an XD slot and a compact flash slot. And it does have removable lenses, like I was talking about, because it's a DSLR camera. Pretty interesting sensor and shutter design. This uses the Olympus BLS50 battery, which I have a replacement battery here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And let's see if it turns on. Ooh, it does turn on. Look at that. So camera turns on automatically because it was set to on mode. And it looks pretty good actually. So let's go ahead and try taking a picture. Pop the flash. Let's see if autofocus works. Yeah, flash fires. This guy's in quite nice shape actually. Just get the lens cleaned off a little bit more. And value of the Olympus E420 in good working condition with the plastic piece missing on the battery door, you're looking at a value of around $90 on this camera. They made a whole line of these. All right, and with that camera, the projected value that we are at now is $370 for that $400 buy. And if you remember, the target was around $800. So I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to get at least close to that $800 number, maybe even exceed it, but we will see. And if you like this kind of video, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Comment down below if you've used any of these cameras. It really helps the algorithm and helps me continue to make videos like this. So I really appreciate it. Next camera, we've got a Fujifilm S8200 bridge camera. And this has a pretty dang good 40x optical zoom. See how the lens looks. The lens looks good, just needs a cleaning. And this uses 4 AA batteries. And if you know me and bridge cameras, yep, it has battery corrosion inside of the battery terminals. That's unfortunate. But, oh, pretty bad too. So I have some vinegar, just household vinegar, as well as a wire brush, and we're going to see what we can do in getting that cleaned up and hopefully get this camera to power on and work. I don't know about this. I'd say I'm 50-50 on this camera actually powering on and working. But we've got some AA batteries here. And this container has just a bunch of AA batteries and rechargeable batteries that are very commonly used. So I kind of keep them over here for camera testing. The on-off toggle is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that on-off toggle. Oh, on-off toggle is really sticky too. On-off toggle is actually broken. So you can see how loose it is there. That can be fixed if you spend enough time on it. The zoom toggle itself looks fine, the on-off toggle is broken, and the camera is not powering on. and that is largely due to that internal post that I can't quite get a picture of, or can't quite get on video, but it is very corroded, as is one of the other posts next to it. So I'll spend a little more time trying to get this camera into working condition. In good working condition, value of the Fujifilm S8200 is going to be between 50 and 75. But I'm not going to assign any value to this right now. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the parts pile and see if we can get that fixed later. Oh yeah! Sony A330. This is a Sony Alpha DSLR camera that was released 12, 15 years ago. I want to say it's probably 10 or 12 megapixels. It has a dual SD Memory Stick Pro slot here. And it comes with the kit 18 to 55 lens. This uses any of Sony or Minolta's A-mount lenses. So there are a wide variety of lenses that you can use with this body. And I actually enjoy shooting with Sony DSLR cameras. It uses the Sony NP-FH50 battery. That one looks quite old. I'm going to go ahead and grab another one. Let's turn it on and see if it works. Ooh, it does. Nice. All right, so it turns on. That's the first step. And there's our menu there. This does have live view, as well as the optical viewfinder. So I'm going to go ahead and test both. Flash. Oh, that was fast. Little bit of hesitation on the lens. And you'll notice there's a little bit of whitish residue on this lens, very common with Sony. I have some rubber cleaner that I use that kind of polishes it up and makes it look nice and new and gives it that dark black look. So I'll go ahead and do that a little bit later as well. But this camera is in really good condition. Autofocus is working, and value of a Sony A330 with a charger and a memory card, not a ton of value, especially compared to what the MSRP was of this camera when it was originally released. But the value of the Sony A330 in good working condition is going to be about $125, maybe up to $150. I'll say $125 for this. Next camera. With that camera, we're at right next to $500 in projected value, and that still doesn't quite cover my original $400 investment once you factor in all of the shipping costs and fees that I would pay to sell these products. So we need to get some more out of this lot. And the next camera is a Nikon Coolpix S30, which is a AA powered waterproof camera that Nikon released. And this one also has some corrosion. Doesn't look nearly as bad as that Fujifilm, but you can get an idea of what we're looking at here. So we do have some corrosion internally. Let's see if we can get this puppy to work. One there. All right, let's turn it on and see if it works. It does power on, so that is a good start. Select date, no. The buttons work? Oh, there we go. Just a little bit delayed. So used to instant gratification with today's generation digital cameras that have response times like that using some older digital cameras sometimes get a little impatient. Pretty limited optical zoom here, and what's interesting is that the zoom is actually under this waterproof housing here. So let me show you. When we zoom in, you can kind of see the lens move, but pretty limited optical range, 3x optical. And let's take a picture and see if it works. Nice, flash fires. So a little bit of corrosion in there, but does not affect the actual performance of the camera. This camera value is not huge. You'd be looking at around $50 on this camera. In its current condition, take it. All right, next camera. Canon PowerShot SX60. Ooh, that's maybe even worse than that Fujifilm. Quite a bit of corrosion in there. But let me get out my brass brush here and see what we can do. But let's go ahead and put some AA batteries in there and see if we can get it to power on. Not fully flush. A little bit of separation here. That's what happens when batteries explode inside of a camera. says change the batteries when you power it on. So it's drawing a little bit of power, but not enough to move the lens out and actually power on and work. So I will try to, oh, there we go. Huh, speak of the devil. Did get it to power on, but now it's flashing low battery. So there's just not enough juice for this to continuously power on. So that's one where I will try to get a little more of that corrosion off of the internal post. And if I can get this into working condition, the value of the Canon PowerShot SX60 is in the $50 to $75 range. So I'm not going to assign a value on this for now until I can get it into fully working condition. All right, next camera, we have a Kodak EasyShare Z981, which is a 26x bridge digital camera. Pretty big camera, actually. This was, when it was released, still a budget bridge camera compared to Canon, Sony, and Nikon. Takes decent pictures. The battery tray, thank goodness, looks good. I don't see any corrosion there. And the on-off toggle is right on the top here, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. There we go. Lens moves out. See if the lens is working properly. Oh yeah. Look how far that little guy extends. So this camera looks to be in good working condition, but let's go ahead and take a picture or two and see if we can get the flash fire and make sure focus is working properly. There we go. Okay, flash fires. Overall, this camera is in good working condition, and the value of the Kodak EasyShare Z981 is going to be about 45 bucks. So not a ton of value in this one, but it adds to our total. Okay, another bridge camera. Boy, just tons of bridge cameras lately. And this is a Nikon Coolpix L330. And this came after the Nikon Coolpix L310 and L320, and just before the L340. And before the more modern B500, P600, etc. cameras. And this uses AA batteries, and it also has corrosion. Getting a lot of corrosion today. We need a little bit of my vinegar here. You can see a bubble starts to work. Eat away a little bit of that corrosion. The good thing is I don't see any corrosion internally in the battery posts internally. So you can see what it looks like now. Looks pretty good actually. So let's go ahead and power it on. Alright, let's go ahead and try the zoom and see if the zoom works. Get into an auto mode. A little bit noisy. Let's pop the flash, and let's try taking a picture. And I sell this camera a lot. I've sold dozens of this camera over the last few years, and the Nikon Coolpix L330 in good working condition like this, it's going to have a value of about $70. Alright, we've got a few left here. This is one of the reasons why I bought this lot. I saw this camera, and this camera has gone up in value a lot over the last few years. A little bit overhyped, probably. But between this and a Canon PowerShot F190, the values have just skyrocketed. This is the Canon PowerShot F180, which is a 20 megapixel 8x optical zoom camera. And physically it looks to be in good shape. I didn't have and wasn't able to test any of these cameras. It was kind of off limits. It was kind of an as-is auction for all of the stuff that they were selling. So I saw this and I knew if it was in working condition it would have a value of about $200. But let's go ahead and see if it works. Uses Canon's NB11L battery. Let's see if I've got one of those in here. Don't get me wrong, it takes good pictures. I think it's just a little bit overvalued. But hopefully it's working. Power's on, but look at that. So let's see. The lens cover gets stuck, so probably some sort of little impact there. But more importantly, we've got a fair amount of dust inside of the lens and also some micro scratches on the lens glass itself. And that's all bad news. So let's go ahead and just test and see if this takes a picture before I start messing with it a little bit more. A little bit jerky when it's moving in and out as well. But let's try it. Yeah, it does take a picture. I mean, even if I would be able to get that little lens cover thing fixed pretty quickly, but the more important problem is the lens scratches and then the fair amount of internal dust, and that will affect the value. So we're going from $200 to probably around $75 for this camera, as is in the condition that it is. So unfortunately, this didn't turn out to be the home run that I was looking for. Next camera is a Panasonic Lumix DMC TZ3. Wow, this is our third Panasonic camera. How unusual. So this camera physically appears to be in pretty good shape. No battery. I think I've got one in here. Throw it in. Power's on. And let's go to an auto mode. Intelligent ISO. Lens moves in and out. We have a black screen. Completely black. Let me go in and reset this camera. And this is the menu here. I'm going to go ahead and reset the camera, and hopefully it was potentially just some sort of setting that was not set properly. Reset. So I'm going to hit reset rec settings. And let's go back in, reset setup parameters, yes, and let's see if we still got a black screen. We do. So that should be showing me right now, since I'm angling the camera up at me, but it is just a completely black screen. So there's a variety of reasons why this could be happening, from a sensor issue to a circuit board issue, but basically this camera will only result in black pictures as is. So fortunately, no value on this camera. If it was in good working condition, still not a ton of value, like 30 to 40. But this is going to go in the parts pile, unfortunately. Ooh! Next camera, we have a Canon EOS 30D DSLR camera. And this camera was released by Canon probably 15 years ago. The menu options was replaced by someone with a homemade sticker. So that's kind of unusual. Pretty common for that glue to come loose on top of the sticker that's on top of here, so unfortunately it does happen. There is also corrosion in the hot shoe flash area. All of that affects the value. This uses Canon's BP511 battery, which I've got here. And let's see if it turns on. It does turn on. Got it there. So let's see. See if we can get this guy to take a picture. This was one of Canon's first DSLR cameras to incorporate EFS mounts. Prior to that, in like the Canon EOS D30, D60, EOS 10D, I believe all those just had Canon EF mounts, which was the red circle there. So I'm going to go ahead and put on this EFS lens, and we'll see if it takes a picture. Nice. Oh yeah, that looks good. Okay. Pretty snappy, actually. So this camera, even though when it was released had a value of, I think the MSRP was around $1,000 on this EOS 30D, the value in the used market for the Canon EOS 30D is way less than that. You're looking at a value of this with the issues, and I'll try to get that hot shoe cleaned up a little bit, but value of this with the issues of probably in the $50 to $60 range. I'm going to go ahead and say 50 on the EOS 30D. And that EOS 30D put us at $785 by my calculations. In projected value, we are getting so close to 800 bucks. All right, Canon PowerShot S3, which is another kind of bridge camera with a 12x optical zoom. Got quite a few older cameras in here, apart from that Canon PowerShot L180. Not unusual. AA tray looks good. Again, cross my fingers and it paid off. Put in some AA batteries. Whoop. And the on-off toggle is right here, so I'm going to go ahead and toggle it. Lens moves out. And let's see. Turned off again. Ooh, okay, it's turning on and then automatically turning off even with new batteries, and it's leaving the lens extended out, so you can see the camera is completely turned off. So this camera, I'm going to do a little work on and see if I can get it into working condition. If it is in working condition, the value of this camera is not great, around 40 bucks in used good working condition. So unfortunately, I'll go ahead and put that in the parts section for now. Got 2 more AA's and a Canon PowerShot coming up. This is a Fujifilm FinePix S2000 bridge camera. It's already got AA's in there. Let's see if those work. A little bit of lens wear, but I can get that cleaned up. This is a 15x optical bridge camera released by Fuji. 10 megapixels. Does power on. And let's see. Lens moves in and out pretty smoothly. Let's go ahead and take a picture. Pop the flash, which is right here. Boop. And the flash is charging. Red light blinking. Flash fires. Nice. Go ahead and delete those. I had a comment asking about if I ever look at pictures that are on cameras before I format the memory. Sometimes, if it's just a couple pictures, I'll delete them manually instead of formatting. And yes, in response to your question, I have seen some wacky and wild things. Value of the Fujifilm FinePix S2000 HD, not great. Around $40 for this camera. So as you can see, whenever I buy these lots, I kind of hone in on a few models and make sure I get value out of those. And the smaller items that are $20, $30, $40 value, they do add up, but it's not something that I'm specifically buying. They just kind of come along for the ride. So value on this, about 40 bucks. That just brought us over 800 bucks. Yeah. And we've got 2 cameras left. So I still think I did overpay for this lot a little bit. My net profit isn't going to be nearly as high as normal, but at least we're making a little bit of money. We have a Olympus SP-590 UZ, which is another bridge camera, 8 megapixels. I believe this uses the XD card from memory. Little bit of wear in the battery tray. Move it to an auto mode, and the power button's right here. Go ahead and push that. Woo! Make your presence known, Olympus. Oh no. Turn off? Okay, let's try that again. Why you turn off on me? Oh, okay. Lens moves in and out smoothly. Looks to be in pretty good working condition, actually. Let's go ahead and pop the flash and see if we can get a picture taken here. Nice. Cool. I like that little rubber ring around there too. It's a nice cosmetic touch. So this camera is in good working condition. Value of this is also not great. You're looking at a value on this camera of in the $35 to $40 range. The time has come for the last camera, my friends. And this is a good one, actually. Canon PowerShot SX530. It's a slightly newer Canon bridge model. And this guy's got a pretty beefy 50x optical zoom. It uses Canon's ND6L battery. It does have a battery in there, as well as a memory card. Let's see if the power's on. Yep. ND6L, and I've got a replacement right here. Ooh, yeah, power's on. And let's you can see the menu there. I'll go ahead and format the card real quick. Okay. We'll pop up the flash. Let's move the lens in and out here, see how that looks. Really nice optical range in this camera. In the used market, in good working condition, this camera, let's go ahead and take a picture before I elaborate on that. Nice. yeah, this camera is in good cosmetic condition. And if you pair it with a charger and a USB cable along with the memory card that's included, you're looking at a value of about $140 on this camera. So that's a great camera to end on, and that definitely puts us in the green for this lot. So there we have it. The last camera from this $400 auction win. Unfortunately, we were able to get to just shy of $1,000 in projected value on this $400 camera lot. Now, keep in mind, not all camera lots I buy go this way. There are some lots that I get where I end up losing a little bit of money, but I try to bid in a way that enables me to at least break even in kind of a worst case situation. So for every auction that I bid on, I only win like 1 or 2. So patience, I think, is key when it comes to really achieving some sort of value, no matter what type of product that you're interested in, whether it's computers, tablets, cell phones, collectibles, toys, the list goes on and on. It's all about using the knowledge that you built up in whatever category that you're in and making smart decisions whenever you're deciding on how much to spend. I hope that video was informative and entertaining. Thank you as always for watching. Your viewership really means a lot to me. And check out this video here, which is another unboxing video that I did. And as always, happy shooting.